Welcome back, everyone. This is the Phenomenal Wrestling Podcast, and we are back. This is June 29th. Ryan, we are on our second episode, and we are doing a fantastic job so far, haven't we? It's been, what, 2 weeks, 6 months since our last episode?
I think it's been about 2 years since our last episode.
Wow. Yeah, we're definitely working to get our schedules better aligned. Hopefully going forward we will be able to record on Sundays without any further issues. But we're going to go ahead and get 2 episodes done today. So you're going to hear this one, and then when you hear the next one, that's actually right after this one was recorded. A little bit of insider magic for you right there.
Doubleheader,
exactly. Okay, so we wanted to start today. Ryan, have you heard of someone called Nikki Cross?
Nikki Cross, I believe she was part of a group called Sanity in NXT. Is that right?
Well, actually, was she part of Sanity in NXT? Or did she become part of Sanity in... Okay. For those of you who don't know, on the June 21st edition of Raw, we found out that Nikki Cross is now a superhero. Which, I don't know, does that mean pretty much death for any for any wrestler these days?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Has anyone been able to be a superhero without it looking completely embarrassing? Like, even Owen Hart. I wasn't there for Owen Hart stuff. Was he good as the Blue Blazer?
I think he was entertaining just because he was Owen Hart. But, like, it is kind of just a gimmick that kind of... What's the best case scenario? The Hurricane? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like...
Super Eric?
Yeah. Super Eric, yeah. Oh, I forgot about Super Eric.
And we just talked about the Shockmaster last week.
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, that's got to be the low end of the of the spectrum there.
Mm-hmm.
But Super Eric, God, I forgot about Super Eric. Yeah. So
TNA was a lot of fun in those days.
Yes, that's very true.
It is very fun to look back on some of that stuff and see what they did. And now we can see it all over again with WWE. Now, look, I mean, it's easy to hate on WWE these days because, I mean, look at everything that it does. And the thing is, like, they're not helping their case when they're doing this kind of thing to people, this kind of stuff to people. I mean, look, maybe Nikki Cross is happier than she's ever been in her life to be wearing that mask and that cape. But you look at it, and it's such a WWE thing to do, and it's something that doesn't look like it actually has a future to it. Where's this going to go? What is the end goal of making her a superhero?
Yeah, I mean, I just to play devil's advocate, I think she tweeted that this was her idea. But at the same time,
sometimes you gotta tell people no.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. It's just a gimmick that you're already in the gimmick in its purest form. You're the superhero. Like where is there to go up from there? You know what I mean?
Like you're a wrestler. You're a professional wrestler. You are like one level below superhero already.
Right, and just making it explicit like that is kind of strange.
It's tacky.
But
it's not even a good-looking costume. It's not like they put a lot of thought into it.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like wrestling tights with a bad mask and a cape on it. And here's the thing. Like, we talked about this a minute ago. She wasn't always a joke. She first showed up on SmackDown as, I guess at the time she was already part of Sanity. But in any case, she came in with Sanity, which was a group of 3 pretty good guys at the time. Eric Young, Killian Dane, and Sawyer Fulton. 3 guys who are no longer with the company, by the way.
Right.
And in her debut, she challenged Becky Lynch for the title. That's like a great way to debut. And she was great. She had this like crazed energy about her. She looked tough. She looked mean. She was ready to throw down. And I mean, sure, we see gimmicks like that all the time. You know, I think Ethan Page is doing a toned down version of that kind of thing.
Right.
But it's better than a superhero. And honestly, out of all the people who came up during that group of people, she probably had the best intro out of any of them. Arguably, Lacey Evans was better positioned before she had to leave. But even so, Nikki Cross had a great introduction with that. And she had a lot of great moments in that period of time. That was when I was still watching WWE and into it.
Right.
In fact... Oh, go ahead.
Even when they pivoted Nikki Cross to, kind of hanging out with Alexa Bliss, and I think at one point they won the women's tags titles. I'm not positive, but they were at least, she was positioned to do something and have a storyline in this new kind of character direction without going into this superhero direction that they've gone in recently.
Well, what have they done with her recently? Like, the last thing I heard is that she was fighting with Alexa Bliss regarding, you're a bad guy now. And
she would just kind of pop up like backstage a lot. I can't remember her having many actual matches, but she would show up and be like, she was part of a lumberjack match. I remember once, like a month or two ago.
Oh, a lumberjack match.
Yeah, it's just like, and they kind of made like a whole thing about the fact that she was very excited to be part of the lumberjack match. She was like popping around and just being like her, her current character, which is kind of just giddy and excited and ready to take on whatever without explicitly being a superhero.
But so this all started essentially when she started getting in the way of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, right? She got some weird wins over them a few times because they were fighting each other more than her. And this is the logical endpoint of that. I mean, it's a bad idea, and WWE puts the pedal to the metal every time there's a bad idea like this.
Right. It just seems like they didn't have a direction for her. Maybe she pitched something to a writer or something, and that was the start of it. Is my assumption. It just seems like they didn't have a direction for her. So they're like, yeah, sure, you can be a superhero, whatever.
I don't know. Like, she showed up again on this week's episode, and I did see the match. I mean, that's the thing. The matches themselves, she's fine in them, but she's also so secondary to it because it's all about Alexa Bliss, Shayna Baszler,
right.
Who are the other two? Reginald and Nia Jax, right?
Nia Jax, yeah.
And it's this weird mind control nonsense.
Right.
I don't get it. It's
it's strange, and I just don't know what the logical endpoint is besides, okay, they do this for a little bit and then who knows? I mean, how long does this character last,
I will say one thing about this whole weird scenario. I've only recently seen it. Alexa Bliss's entrance, it's actually pretty good. I like the entrance, that doll, and the way it just kind of moves on the screen. That is pretty creepy. I
think the doll is super cool. Not necessarily the doll itself, but like you said, the graphic is pretty. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the character in general, the huge character pivot, because I think Alexa had an established character before that, and I was a big fan of that character, the kind of the goddess character. But you know what? She's killing it, so she's really throwing her all into it. So, I can't blame her. Yeah.
She should, and also, okay, here's the other thing that they added to this just to make it more ridiculous, which I'm starting to wonder if it's clear that she's intentionally supposed to be silly,
right?
But are they really, it is getting to the point where it is becoming like a parody of itself already, because she's now changed her name to Nikki Ash, because Ash stands for almost superhero.
I didn't even catch that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was the big thing this week. And here's the thing. Superhero is one word, so that should actually be Nikki Ass. And and you know what? Appropriate, because she is kind of making an ass of herself with this new gimmick. And the announcers also, they don't enunciate the H hard enough on it, so it sounds like they're saying that the whole time during the match.
It's doing her no favors at all.
It is doing her none of this is doing her any favors, but
no, because she's so talented. She really is.
Yeah, she was so good when she was in her original gimmick. I remember her match with Ruby Riott. That was a lot of fun right there.
Right.
I always thought she should have been part of the Riot Squad at some point, but I don't know whatever they did with the Riot Squad. They broke up after I stopped watching. Everything good at WWE, just kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, it's especially when it comes to the women's division, for sure. It just feels like they kind of imploded it, and who knows what's going on anymore other than Alexa Bliss and Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, on Raw at least, and then SmackDown you've got Bianca and Sasha, but
who've been fighting for what, 6 months now?
Yeah, it's been a bit. Yeah. And Bayley, of course, Bayley.
Well, she's always around somewhere.
Yeah, she's hanging around. Yeah.
Here's the one way they can salvage this, and I don't think they're going to do it, but it kind of is the only way it can go if they are kind of going in such a parody direction. They need to make her turn into an evil superhero. They need to go full Omni-Man on this. Don't think, Shayna. I mean, it kind of makes sense because she is with Alexa Bliss in some capacity.
Sure.
Perhaps that's where it's going. And if they go in that direction, maybe I'll reevaluate this. But I don't have confidence that they're going to go in that direction with her, that she's just going to eventually get beat by either Rhea or Charlotte, and that's just going to be the end of it.
I don't have confidence that they have any direction for it. So any direction like that would be actually very interesting.
Yeah. But you know what? Best of luck to her and whatever she has planned for this. Hopefully something good could come of it because she is talented. But
Yep.
that's all there really is for the time being. We'll have to see where this
Mhm.
goes, in future episodes. So let's go ahead and talk about AEW. And
Sure.
this is the episode from all the way back on June 18th, the last Friday show. We're going to cover this here. It's the final episode of the Friday Night Dynamite. Then they had a show on Saturday. And it's been an interesting few weeks, to say the least. There's been some great action here and there, but they've also had some pretty bad episodes. That one right after the pay-per-view, it seemed like everyone maybe was just tired or something because there was a lot of like botches and whatnot. It was a weird one. But this episode starts with Jake Hager versus Wardlow in a mixed martial arts match. What did you think of this one?
I just don't like when, it's kind of goes back to, Antonio Inoki doing kind of MMA stuff and wrestling. I just don't like when wrestling and MMA mix. I think I might have mentioned it on the previous episode, where Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe did kind of MMA kind of thing in I think like '08 or '09, and it just gets to the point where it's just like if I wanted to see bad MMA, I would just watch bad MMA. You know what I mean? Which is not to say that Wardlow or Jake Hager are bad at MMA, but when you do worked MMA, it just doesn't work for me overall.
I'm not someone who watches MMA, so I couldn't tell you if this was a good MMA match.
Yeah.
To its credit, it does kind of work as a fake MMA match in that there's a lot of action in there. It feels like 5 rounds worth of action in 2 rounds. So if you're kind of into that, that might be something worth seeing here. And I guess it's fine. I'm just not a mixed martial arts guy, so it just didn't do much for me.
Yeah, they did some things that you don't generally see in MMA, which made it interesting. Like I think Wardlow hit a power bomb into the cage on Hager, and then I think he did a Hurricane Rana at one point. So that made it interesting and threw some loops into it. But I'm just not a huge fan of when MMA and mixes into wrestling. And I get it for a change of pace, but it's just not my thing generally.
For the most part, the first match was Jake Hager and Wardlow feeling each other out. Wardlow got the best of Hager at the end of it, but by the second match, Hager's, I guess you could say, MMA training kicked in where Wardlow's inexperience didn't, and he finally choked him out with I think that's called a triangle choke.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and it was actually a good one because Wardlow was giving everyone the finger as he was passing out. That's always fun.
Yeah, a little act of defiance, you know?
But of course, because this is the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, there has to be a brawl at the end. I think it was who was it? Sean Spears attacked Hager.
Hager. Let's see, MJF. MJF wanted to punch Dean Malenko, I'm pretty sure.
Dean Malenko, he's a coach now, right?
I think so. I think he's like a backstage kind of guy. And then I know MJF, Wardlow, and Spears kind of ran away.
When Sammy's music hit. That's the thing. We're pumping up Sammy, so he holds back until the last minute. Music hits, and then everyone starts running for the hills.
That's right. Yep. Yeah. Definitely building Sammy up, which I'm a fan of. I like Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy's good. I like him quite a bit. I liked him. He had a rough period last year. Last year was not kind to Sammy.
Sure.
But things look to be getting a lot better here. And he's got a match with MJF on next week's show, which not next week from the week we're talking about, next week from right now when we're recording, which is actually tomorrow. We have fantastic timing.
Yeah. Our calendar's all over the place right now, for sure.
But I am excited to see what MJF and Sammy do in the ring. I'm pretty sure MJF's going to win, but it's probably going to be a good match.
But I think Sammy can afford that loss just being so young. I think MJF's kind of the hot thing at the moment, and Sammy's time will come.
Oh, and he's not going to lose in a bad way. It's definitely going to be that Dynamite ring.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah. And, if they want to do more MMA matches, fine. Apparently it did really good in the ratings.
That's what I heard, too.
And it wasn't bad for what it was. It's just not what I'm looking for in this show. After
Definitely
that,
agreed.
we cut to the back where Team Taz is trying desperately to put on a brave face despite their recent setbacks, which is all the more glaring because Brian Cage was nowhere to be seen there.
Nope.
And Taz like, everything's fine. It's all good. But Will Hobbs, actually, he kind of breaks away and says, hey, things didn't turn out great. Now you, Hook, Ricky, everyone, you left me behind to fight Ten and Adam Page last week. That wasn't cool. And that's true. Like, that was like, if Brian Cage is supposed to be becoming a heel babyface soon. That was kind of a jerk thing to do right there. Leave his buddy behind like that.
For sure.
What has Hobbs ever done to him?
Yeah.
It's all been Ricky Starks, and he left Hobbs hanging there.
Right. Yeah, it's not a very focused retaliation by Brian Cage for sure.
And then they announced Hobbs versus Hangman next week. We'll talk about that later on the next episode. After that, we had the match I was not looking for. I was not looking forward to this at all.
Just the logic of it just kind of is dumb. But yeah, go ahead.
Darby Allin versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in a handicap match because Darby Allin is a fool. We talked about this at length last time. You know my thoughts on it if you heard that episode, and if you haven't heard that episode, go ahead and listen. It was a fine match. It was a good match. Darby Allin's a good wrestler, so of course he got a lot of offense in on here. It's still ridiculous that he thinks this was a good idea to face two guys within storyline and all that. And his big plan was, what was it, like a zip tie?
Right. I think that was his big plan.
He fights them both off. Eventually, he zip ties Ethan Page because, hey, it's okay to cheat if you're outnumbered or something like that. It doesn't even work because Ethan Page gets out of it pretty quickly, and he even manages to break up a pin while tied together like that. So, great plan, Darby. I'm glad you had such a great idea for this match.
Yeah, it's just classic like wrestling, like foolish babyface logic, essentially. You know, it's just like it's like when someone distracts somebody on the ring apron, and then the face gets distracted and gets rolled up for a pin. You know, it's just like it's just classic babyface logic.
And it's not even like Darby's the kind of white meat all-American babyface that you kind of associate with that kind of logic. He's not a tweener, but he has a darker aesthetic to him. Sure. And I don't know, like when you have a character like that, him staying cool is priority number one. And people who do silly things like this probably aren't that cool.
Right. They're probably just dumb, honestly. You know?
But in any case, match goes on. They fight and fight and fight. Darby puts up a good fight. What did he do at the end?
I think a toolbox was involved.
Yeah, Ethan Page got the toolbox to save himself.
I think he cut the tie, and then he became the legal man.
I don't remember how he became legal. I thought that was like a little confusing. Like I don't remember.
Yeah,
on that
it was
one.
a little bit of a mess at the end, I feel like. But I think Ethan Page hit his finisher eventually.
Oh, the Ego's Edge. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, the Ego's Edge. Yeah, I do like that. I do like that too. And they pinned Darby to get the win.
So there you go. Darby, for all his babyface smarts, still didn't get the win on that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, the match after that was, I don't know, probably the best match ever done. We talked about this last week. When we were talking about Orange Cassidy and the Cesar Bononi thing, we were like, it was a choice between getting a makeover and a match, and we were like, shoot, I want to see both.
Yeah,
exactly. We got both!
Yep, that's right.
We got both in this match because Cesar Barnoni came out with the Wingmen and Orange Cassidy came out with the Best Friends. They have a pretty good match, but every once in a while, Orange Cassidy would get knocked out of the ring, and the Wingmen would start giving him a makeover.
Combing his hair, and then...
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but this is the most babyface thing imaginable. Think of how much that spray tan cost.
Oh, yeah.
And Ryan Nemeth even gave him his jacket.
Right.
What could be more of a good guy thing to do than to help someone look better like that?
I love the Wingmen.
They are
Wingmen
so
great.
good. I love everything about these guys. Of course, Orange Cassidy ends up winning the match.
Yeah, of course. Right.
Of course he does. There's a lot of really fun interference from the Best Friends at the end. Really good stuff there. And Cesar Bononi takes an orange punch and falls over like a ton of bricks. So good.
Sold it great. Sold it great.
And the best part about this, my favorite thing, the capstone to this entire match, at the end of it, Peter Avalon has Cesar Bononi's head cradled in his arms, and he is shouting to the heavens. Why?
I forgot about that. That was so good.
These guys have to show up every week. They have to keep giving people makeovers. It is so much fun to see these guys. Like, fun is not overrated. Yeah. You can have fun like this.
Oh, for sure. It's wrestling. You're supposed to, you know?
Like, we just got done talking about Nikki Cross and the superhero, and all we can think of is cringe. And here, like it's a kind of cringe as well, but it's a good kind. It works here because it
seems
doesn't
more
feel like we're
self-aware
burying
also.
someone. It doesn't feel
Yeah,
like we are
exactly.
taking someone really talented and sinking them below what they should be doing. We are
Hmm.
elevating people who are talented, but accentuating what makes them great. Cesar Bononi's got a lot of height. He's got a good look to him, so he can play that good-looking guy who's big but relies on that instead of actually being good at anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter Avalon, he's not a guy who you would normally see as a top person, but he
Hmm.
has this role to play and he plays it fantastically. Same with Ryan Nemeth. I mean, he's the brother of Dolph Ziggler. I love Dolph Ziggler. I think he is kind of like a main event guy. Maybe not so for Ryan Nemeth yet, but the
Right.
place he is in right now is perfect for the kind of character that he can play.
Yeah.
These are
No,
all
100%.
they're adding to these people. They're giving people opportunities that work with what they're good at, and it looks like it's genuinely fun. Where Nikki Cross, I don't know, it from the perception, she said she's wanted to do this, fine, but if she wanted to do it, why didn't she have a better costume? Like, if this is something
Yeah.
you really wanted to do, why is it played like a joke?
Right. You almost can't take it seriously. Yeah, I
and
totally get
not
what you mean.
in like a fun way, because like is she supposed to even be a baby face?
I think so. I think they're trying to position her as a baby face,
Like,
but it's just not working. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lack of something there to make it funny where the
Hmm.
wingmen are funny. Maybe it's not even confidence because she is very confident in what she's doing.
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to pin down, but the wingmen get it in a way that just WWE can't get that kind of thing across.
Right. Yeah, and I wonder if it has to, I don't know. I just feel like they understand the wingmen more than WWE understands someone like Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just what it comes down to. But yeah, long live the wingmen because they are a ton of fun.
If they're looking for another member, I will gladly
Yes.
join their crew. I will carry their bags. I will carry their combs for them, whatever they
right.
need.
That's right. Yeah. I volunteer to do the same. So
Yeah.
pick between us, wingmen.
Hit us up, Peter Avalon. All right. Alex Marvez is in the back trying to get an interview with Jungle Boy about Omega, the upcoming match. When Omega, Callis, and Nakazawa, they roll up in a golf cart and start yelling at Jungle Boy. Omega wants him to fight here and now for whatever reason. I don't think having a fight here is going to call off the match on Saturday. But okay, so we just got done talking about Darby Allin being a fool, playing into the heel's hands. This here is a better example of that, because Omega offers to give Jungle Boy the first punch, and Jungle Boy actually does consider. He plans on doing it. So even though it's an obvious trap, much like with Darby Allin and Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky.
Sure. Yeah.
It works better here for a few reasons. Number one, it's quick because, as soon as Jungle Boy is kind of considering it and starts taking off his backpack, Nakazawa beans him in the back of the head with a laptop.
Right.
And I don't know, it's like, even if it's a trap, it is something that you can see someone actually going for. Like,
For sure.
even if you only get one punch in, it might be worth it compared to the beatdown you'd get afterwards, where with Darby Allin, there's just no upside.
No, definitely. I think it's measured courage against just kind of stupidity almost of Darby Allin. It's just it's like, okay, I can at least make something happen
Jungle
here.
Boy is possibly that kind of babyface who could more easily get away with that kind of foolish heroicism.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably a tricky guy to get your hands on once he if he sucker punches you, he's probably getting away because he's
and that's still kind of what happens. Even after Nakazawa for the kill, Jungle Boy fights out of it so much that Omega and Callis jump on the golf cart. Nakazawa tries to jump on too, but they kick him right back into Jungle Boy, which is great.
That was pretty great. Yeah. I just love the Kenny Omega being just as a great wrestler, but also a coward is pretty fun.
I mean, it's a weird combination because does he need to do any of this stuff?
No,
because he's so good. He
Yeah.
manages to win on his own most of the time. Well, okay, he didn't win that pay-per-view match without Callis because Cassidy had him dead to rights.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I think he relies more on his friends than he would like to admit, which I think is a good character aspect.
Yeah.
For sure.
Here's a fun one. Okay, so here's what happens next. Matt Hardy is being interviewed in the back about his Christian Cage grudge. Apparently, he considers that handshake at the pay-per-view to be a binding contract, whatever. But what was fun about this is that Christian Cage comes out of nowhere, and for once, someone is actually prepared for that, and he's doing the interview right in front of a giant cage. So as soon as Christian Cage comes in, they lock Cage in the cage.
Yes.
Which, hey,
Yes.
I mean, good. Bravo to you, Matt Hardy. You figured it out.
Yeah.
40
He
years
pulled
of
him in,
wrestling, you're the one guy who figured it out.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible discovery by Matt Hardy.
Yeah. I'm fine with this storyline, but it's not doing a lot for me. You know, he offers Christian Cage money to retire, whatever.
Yeah. It does seem like, okay, we have Matt Hardy, we have Christian. People know they have history. Let's get it out of the way. Yeah, I guess they have history just from
that was
the
20
old,
years ago history.
Oh, wrestling fans have long memories. We know this. But yeah, it just seems like, okay, let's just get this out of the way. Let's establish that they have history. Let's establish that, they could have a feud now and then move on to younger people's. Is kind of the impression I'm getting from this.
Perhaps, I don't know, maybe it's the big money thing that's kind of big money Matt thing that's kind of throwing me off.
That still throws me off for sure.
I don't think he was big money Matt when he was doing whatever he was doing with Christian 20 years ago.
Right. No, yeah, he definitely was a different pivot of the gimmick for sure. Yeah.
And then we get to Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. I thought this was a perfectly fine debut for Brock Anderson, but he was the least in the match.
Yes. Yeah. That's a definite. Yeah, I think he was definitely, a little bit, I don't know if protected is the right word, but he had Cody Rhodes and, QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. So I think there was very little room for error in terms of, well,
at least
a debut match.
He had good work. He was a good worker, but he also lacks presence. He looks like he is running through the script in his mind through the match. He doesn't. He sells okay, but it definitely feels kind of predetermined selling.
Right.
And there's this one spot where he just walks into QT Marshall for a move. That one looked kind of awkward.
Yeah, that's for sure. And how do you feel about Brock getting the big win? I think he countered Solo's move into a pin, I believe.
It was definitely a good ending for Brock. So if the first half was kind of wooden, he definitely came more into his own at the end where he got to do most of the offense and got the win. But even compared to Solo, who I've barely seen, Solo feels a bit more natural in the ring. Maybe not quite as technically proficient as someone like Brock, who looks like he's been doing this every single day for the past 15 years.
Right.
But Solo seems definitely more comfortable in the ring being a wrestler as opposed to Brock, who is trying to go through the motions as best he can.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, and I think it'll come in time for young Brock. But I thought it was a decent debut.
Not a bad debut for Brock. Wondering what he's gonna do now. I guess he's just gonna be part of Cody's crew. Who's even in Cody's crew anymore? I don't even know.
It's such a bizarre. Let's see if I can look it up. What is it? The Nightmare Family?
Yeah,
is that what they're called? Let's see if I can
look
it up.
You got Lee Johnson.
Yeah,
I think that's the only young guy I can think of. Red Velvet.
Oh, they have their own Wikipedia article. Look at that.
Everything's a Wikipedia
looks like
article. We do this long enough. We're gonna
exactly. Well, we've got Cody, Brandy, and Dustin.
Yeah.
You got Arn Anderson. Oh, the Gunn family.
Oh yeah, the Gun Club. I love those guys.
Yeah, and then Lee Johnson. You're right. And that's about it. They have a good amount of former members: MJF, Ali, QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Comoroto.
Okay.
So it seems like it's the Gunn family, the Anderson family, the Rhodes family, and then Lee Johnson.
Gun Club is another group that I think needs a bit more time on TV. They're a little like the Varsity Blondes. Who's the main one? Is it Austin who's the main one?
I believe it is Austin, yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of his brother, but every time Austin shows up, he just looks so happy to be in the ring.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love it. He's maybe a little bit green cell, but he definitely has the exuberance that Brock was a little bit lacking.
Oh, it's interesting. I just found out Austin Gunn is actually 4 years younger than Colton Gunn.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, I always got
Colton Gunn is 30.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What has Colton been doing the whole time?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
Well, after that match, I don't even remember how it ended. It was like a bridge or something.
Yeah, Brock countered I think Aaron Solo into a pin.
Yeah.
And that's how it won. That's how he won.
All right, first win on AEW. Let's see how long his
one for one.
1 for 1. Hey, perfect score.
That's right.
We cut to something we've seen a million times before. This is pretty much the only intro or promo that these two can do. Jake Roberts and Lance Archer in a condemned barn or something where, Jake Roberts is lamenting at the fact that Lance Archer is in the background pacing the whole time.
Right.
Just get him in more matches.
Yeah.
Unless you have something planned, I don't know what these promos are helping with.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk all day, but I want to see Lance Archer just, destroy jobbers or something.
He is so good at destroying jobbers.
It's an art for Lance Archer. It really is. He's incredible at it.
He started here killing 20 jobbers in a video.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, that was amazing.
That was awesome.
That was amazing. That was unbelievable. More of that, less talking. I know they had to use Jake the Snake, but I don't know. Yeah. Just kill some jobbers, please.
Yes, lots of jobbers. And you can have Jake in the background just laughing at them.
Sure, yeah.
That's probably your best use of Jake right there.
Definitely. Oh yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah.
And after that, we get the interview between JR and Andrade. I don't know what are you feeling the Andrade heat?
I'm a big fan of Andrade. I think he was grossly misused pretty much after he lost the U.S. title in WWE. Pretty much when he debuted, honestly, in the main roster, but definitely when he lost the U.S. title. I thought the U.S. title was at least a good stepping stone for what I thought would be him being involved more. I think Paul Heyman getting fired from Raw definitely kind of tanked Andrade's momentum. Who is
still there? Who was one of Paul Heyman's dudes?
Angel Garza.
Is he still even there?
Yeah, he's there. He's just not doing much. Yeah.
Because
he was.
But Lashley, one of his guys.
I think he liked Bobby.
Yeah, because I remember the first episode under his rule. Bobby Lashley went into a light fixture and it went kablooey.
Yeah, I would think that Bobby would be a Paul Heyman guy just because of their time briefly in ECW in 07. You know what I mean? 06, 07.
Oh yeah, he was in the worst pay-per-view, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he ended up winning that pay-per-view.
And a lot of good did him.
That extreme elimination chamber. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Andrade. I'm a big fan of Vicky Guerrero, honestly. I think she gets more heat, and I think it'll be interesting once crowds are more of a thing. She gets more heat than a lot of people do. And so I think this could be a good combo. I'm excited for Andrade in an AEW.
I'm a little ambivalent about Vicky, but I have liked her more in AEW. The only thing is she seems to be fine with it, but it really kind of bugs me just how much they talk bad about Vicky Guerrero. Sure. I think that was more of a WWE thing. Jericho when she first came up was like, Vicky! Kind of call back to that. But I saw some of those clips. Even John Cena was really mean to Vicky Guerrero.
Oh yeah. Everybody was especially cruel to Vicky. That was a little bit not cool. And it's something you look back on when you're older and you're like, oh my god, that's kind of ugly behavior.
She still kind of embraces it with the whole "excuse me."
Yeah, exactly.
Thing. Definitely. But I think it's more of a pop now. Kind of like when Kurt Angle's "You Suck" chant became his best thing. I think it's kind of come around to that with Vicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would totally agree. I think it's more like a crowd is happy to see her and happy to be annoyed almost. It's not go away heat like it used to be. I think it's like, we're in on it now, and we know that's your shtick. We know that's your gimmick, and I think Vicky's earned that for sure.
Was it this episode where they announced the match for
No, I think they teased that there was an announcement, and then the interview ended. Yeah,
he still doesn't have a match, does he?
I don't think so.
He's here 3 weeks, no match.
Yeah, he's just he's taking his time, stretching. Working out, getting ready,
stretching those hammies.
That's right. Yeah, he doesn't want to pull a hammy on his first match.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do a Matt Sydal.
No, definitely not.
After that, we cut to Alex Marvez, who was interviewing Hangman Adam Page and the Dark Order. Okay, so this might be the most interesting long-term story that AEW has.
Sure,
Hangman Adam Page is basically doing a Lion King right now.
Yeah.
He is one of the top guys there, but he is still hurt by how he failed last year. And so he is basically with Timon and Pumbaa, in this case the Dark Order, trying to drink his worries away. But there is that ever-looming threat of Kenny Omega. At some
Yes.
point, Kenny is going to call out Adam Page or something like that, and he's going to have to decide, does he want to keep being, a second-rate guy, big fish in a small pond, or does he want to face Kenny Omega and go for the gold again?
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing to me here is, what are the Dark Order going to do? Are they going to help Hangman along his way to becoming the champion, or are they going to be his enablers? I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's maybe I'm putting too much thought into it, but
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
I would hope they're putting this much thought into it. I mean, I think in a perfect world for me, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that AEW is kind of waiting to, let Adam Page loose for, crowds to come back. I think people want it to happen in front of a big crowd, a hot crowd. He gets, he pops the crowd the few times we've seen him in front of the AEW crowd the past, few months. I think I would like to see the Dark Order kind of become allies even more so than they are now. I think that would be a nice kind of counterbalance to Kenny's and his friends, the Bucks, the Good Brothers. Even if they are kind of underdogs, I think that works with Hangman Page's story. So I would like to see them even become more involved with this whole storyline, because I do like them together.
I'm calling it now. John Silver's arm finally gets healed. Kenny Omega breaks it again.
Oh yeah,
that's what sets him on the journey.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Definitely something to look forward to going forward. And of course, there's the match next week with him and Will Hobbs, which we'll get to eventually. But yeah, this was an okay promo. I was more interested in the subtext than the actual words, but there is a lot of really good ideas at play with Hangman Adam Page at the moment.
Definitely, I would totally agree. I'm a big Hangman Page guy, so I'm excited for them to finally let him loose and fulfill his potential as a future AEW World Champ.
Absolutely. So after that, we had Penelope Ford versus Julia Hart. I was really pulling for this match because I actually really like Penelope Ford. I thought she did some fantastic stuff last year when she was one of the main people in the women's division. And Julia Hart had a match against Britt Baker, but she looked really good in that match. I thought she was fantastic. And someone else must have as well, because she got right in with the Varsity Blondes. But this match didn't quite click. What did you think?
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. Like you said, I like Julia Hart a lot, and I like the Varsity Blondes a lot, and I just I don't know. It just seemed like a bridge between other segments that I found more enjoyable or interesting. Not that it was a bad match by any means, but I definitely thought it was a little straightforward, I guess.
That splitting leg drop that Julia Hart does, it didn't look great here, but if she adds like a little spin to it, lands with a bit more force, that might work.
Yeah, for sure.
It feels too much like just people working out their movesets rather than a solid match, but, whatever. We need people like these two to get better so that they can eventually challenge for... Baker's going to need opponents.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. They need to kind of fill out the women's division for sure. So yeah, I anticipate them getting better and better, just like a lot of the talent in this company, really.
So like what we just talked about, how Adam Page has a lot of subtext going on for really good storylines. The ending of this match has a lot of seeds of really bad ideas in it. We have first of all, Penelope Ford seems to still be a heel despite Kip Sabian basically getting punched into oblivion, which is usually the first sign of a heel becoming a babyface, especially with a guy like Miro. So she's still kind of a heel, which is a little bit odd. Then Miro comes out to fend off the Varsity Blondes who are telling her to stop or whatever, and he's just beating people up. Blah, 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 blah. Miro being Miro, he's always great at that.
Exactly.
And there is the implication that, Ford is amused by this. She leaves with a smile on her face as Miro protects her from... Well, I don't even think the Varsity Blondes were going to do anything. So basically just watching him beat up a bunch of dudes.
Yep.
AEW, Miro, you too, if you're listening to this, do not, under any circumstances, break up Kip Sabian so that Penelope Ford can go with Miro.
No.
You were there, sir. You were there when this happened to you. You know where this goes. Do not do this.
Please don't do that.
We already got the wedding. That's as far as we want to go. No further than the wedding.
Extremely tough. That is a tough thought. I do not want that to happen at all.
Not at all. Not at all. So maybe that's not going to happen. Again, maybe I'm reading too much into things, but it definitely feels like the seeds of that are being planted, and I want to root them up like weeds as fast as possible.
Yes. That would be terrible.
Is Kip actually hurt?
I don't know.
Because he wasn't here this week. I guess he's just trying to sell the injury. But
yeah, maybe they're just selling it.
Kip and Penelope have such a great dynamic, when
they do.
And when Penelope does a distraction, she actually hits people during it. I remember she did a top rope distraction or something like that. That was awesome. That was a year ago or something. So I want to see that Kip and Penelope back.
Yeah, I feel like they haven't hit their full potential together.
Exactly. So, which is why we don't want them breaking up.
Definitely
Listen,
not.
Miro, do not do this.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Please don't. Yeah.
So, okay, here it is. Tony Schiavone is interviewing Britt Baker, whatever. Oh, I did say it right. Dang, I made fun of myself saying it wrong when I actually said
you nailed it.
I am. Yeah. Okay, let's keep Tony Schiavone is trying to interview Britt Baker about her title when Vicky shows up, and she's like, I want a match for Nyla Rose and all that. And this is also where we mentioned it earlier. Did we mention it earlier? I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but Vicky and Nyla are going to face Britt Baker and, Rebel.
Rebel. Yes. Correct.
For reasons, I don't know. She got a favor from Tony Khan, and this is what she's doing with it.
Yeah, she got a favor for bringing Andrade in, right? Yeah, so that's what she wanted to use it on.
Not a raise or even a match for Andrade. No,
right.
She wants to have a match. Has there been a Vicky Guerrero match? I don't know if I've ever seen one.
I think towards the end of her time in WWE, she was in some kind of, I'm not kidding, some kind of mud match. I think the less said about that, the better, for sure.
So, we'll see how that goes, but I think everyone is on the same page that this is probably not a good idea, which, hey, AEW has done good things with bad ideas before.
Sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
They got Tully Blanchard to be in a match, and it wasn't terrifying.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. Yeah. So you never know with AEW, but this has the ingredients for at least a weird time.
So after that, we have Jade Cargill and Smart Mark Sterling announcing a partnership between Jade Cargill and...
Yeah. I don't know.
What is the point of this? Jade Cargill is such an intimidating presence.
Right.
She should be doing matches.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of the same with Lance Archer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just I'd rather see Jade Cargill doing cool things.
And Mark Sterling is good too. I remember when he was MJF's lawyer, he was so good at being that guy in that, and it was a lot of fun. And we're just talking about partnerships and brand deals.
Right. It's just kind of it's like in Star Wars and the prequels when they're talking about trade federations, and it's just come on, I just want to see lightsaber battles,
No, it's worse than that. It's like watching one of those marketing videos they send to toy stores when they announce new Star Wars things. Here's how you can be the best Star Wars ambassador you can be.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's just come on. I'm just trying to watch wrestling here. Yeah.
Well, after that, we get the main event, which is Penta L0M, Frankie Kazarian, and Eddie Kingston versus the Good Brothers and Matt Jackson in a 6-man tag match. It's better than last week's match, or the week before's match, only because they are not doing the whole baby faces don't get along thing. So that puts it better right there.
Yes, I would totally agree. Yep.
And Frankie Kazarian, he is probably the most underrated guy who is still also very highly regarded. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows
definitely.
Frankie Kazarian is great, but it's still not enough recognition for how great he is.
Right. I don't think he's ever had a killer gimmick or anything, where it's just he gets to shine. And I think this is the closest he's gotten, to be honest.
Yeah, he's him as the what is it, the something killer,
the elite hunter,
killer.
Right?
Elite hunter. That's it.
Yeah.
It's coming together. I want to see where it goes. I bet he's gonna get a match with Omega at some point.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah.
What do you remember about this match? I don't remember much about the match, but I remember it being pretty good.
Honestly, not a lot. Let's see. I think
it's another Young Bucks style match. A lot of moves,
yeah,
back and forth. And when you got 6 guys in the ring, it's you can tell a story, but it's going to be very fragmented. So it's what you expect. You got 6 guys who are really good getting in the ring. You see all the matchups that you want to see, and eventually, I didn't like the ending. Did you like the ending?
Not really. No.
Yeah.
I mean, what where Nick Jackson came in?
Yeah, Nick Jackson comes in out of nowhere and sprays Penta with that cold spray stuff.
Right.
And then that's just it. He's down. Carl Anderson lands a super cutter, and he gets the pin to win the match.
Right.
You know, we got this 20-minute fantastic bout between 6 guys, and then over. Which
the thing about
it's a heel thing. You know, they're good heels.
But like, you know, as a tease for next episode, I'm sure we'll talk about something similar. But it's just like, at what point do you just expect this every time the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers are involved? You know what I mean? It's just like
it's their whole gimmick.
Yeah, it's their whole gimmick at this point. It just feels very, I don't know. They're obviously going to subvert it at some point, but I'm just waiting for that other shoe to drop for sure.
Well, Kenny Omega already had his subversion at the pay-per-view. That was fantastic because they got the interference out early and it didn't work, and then it was like, oh no, Kenny's all alone now.
Yeah. Yeah,
here,
that's true.
You're just waiting for Nick Jackson or Brandon Cutler to show up and ruin everything.
Exactly. Right. It's just I don't know. I'm maybe it's unfair to say I'm waiting for something fresh, but I'm kind of waiting for something fresh. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, so and that's how the episode ends. All the bad guys are laughing as, you know, the screen turns black, you know, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
And it was a better episode than most of the Friday night shows.
Definitely.
That Cesar Bononi and Orange Cassidy match, best
that was great.
thing ever. I would love to see more of that. And I don't think aside from maybe the Penelope Ford and Julie Hart match, there really wasn't anything bad on the show.
No,
some
I
of
would
the
agree.
promos felt a bit meh, but the matches at least were fantastic.
I would definitely agree. I think the wrestling was pretty solid.
Yeah. We're right after a pay-per-view, so we're kind of in a lull as far as storylines. So we're either getting the beginnings of long-term stuff or short-term stuff that they're just kind of getting through to fill time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think you nailed it right there.
And, you know, the Saturday show comes up after that, and that's the big, if you want to encapsulate this moment in time, that's the event show at the end of the new Friday night time slot. So,
right.
You know, and I think they did a fine build to that show.
Yeah, I think the Kenny Jungle Boy stuff is probably the main draw, right? And I think they did a pretty good job showing that Jungle Boy's not afraid, and you kind of want to see what Jungle Boy's capable of.
Absolutely. All right, and that's it for, you know, AEW for that week. So, hey, we are slowly catching up. And
that's
actually,
right.
To go even further back in time, you saw that NXT pay-per-view from about 2 weeks back.
Yes, the In Your House from, I believe, June 13th.
June 13th,
So this took place in the Performance Center. Essentially, I think there were...
Superdome?
In the what?
Why isn't NXT in the Superdome, whatever it is?
I don't know.
Thunderdome.
I guess maybe just to give it, the Thunderdome. I think just to give it some kind of different feel. Because they've always kind of tried to separate NXT, I feel like, and give it that more intimate feel, I suppose. But this was a pretty solid show all around. Started off with an interesting match. I think it was a 6-man tag match. It was kind of a winner takes all match between Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza taking on Bronson Reed, who is the current NXT North American champion, and the tag team champions MSK, which is Wesley and Nash Carter. I thought this was a pretty good match. Did you see any of this show?
No, not any of it. So, and I don't watch a lot of NXT, so I don't know most of these people. What does MSK stand for?
I can't remember what MSK stands for. What does MSK stand? I have no idea. I'm sure it's somewhere in my brain. But yeah, it was a pretty good, solid match. I think it was around like 15 minutes. I'm reading this here. Was this a title match for all 3 belts? Yes. Yeah. So what it was Bronson Reed currently has the the NXT North American Championship, and MSK have the NXT Tag Team Championships. So pretty much, if Legado del Fantasma won, they would win all of those championships. So that didn't happen. I believe, I can't remember who got the pin. I think Bronson Reed ended up performing the Tsunami on Mendoza, and they retained. So that was the first actual match on the show. Jali, who came out with Boa, defeated... Yeah.
Are these the people who are basically in a kung fu movie? Like you got
I
the
don't.
400-year-old woman. Is that this group?
I can't remember because I only recently started watching NXT again, so I'm trying to figure out what everybody's deal is. To be honest, I just know Shali kicked Mercedes Martinez with a roundhouse kick and won, and then Mercedes Martinez tried to attack Mei Ying, who also came out with Shali, and then Ying applied a chokehold and then threw Martinez off the ramp. So when I really start to remember this match is or this pay-per-view is LA Knight against Cameron Grimes. Do you know anything about either of these guys?
Cameron Grimes won a bunch of money selling GameStop
Yes,
stock.
yes. So that's kind of the gimmick they're going with for Cameron Grimes. He actually makes it work. He's pretty.
I saw his promo when he first on YouTube when he first won the money, and I actually like the guy. He's got a lot of personality to him.
Very entertaining. And then he took on the former Eli Drake, who is now LA Knight, in a pretty entertaining ladder match for the vacant $1 Million Championship. Ted DiBiase himself was there.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of
and it was like around 20-minute matches. Really, yeah. Bringing back the $1 Million Championship is definitely an interesting move, but I think it kind of works for both LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. Yeah, so there was a pretty good ladder match. These guys really went all out, and I really wanted Cameron Grimes to win. So props to both of them for pulling off an entertaining match. He didn't. LA Knight won, but it was a great match. And then Raquel Gonzalez, the current NXT Women's Champion, with Dakota Kai, had a great match with Ember Moon. It wasn't super long, but Ember Moon seems to be back to full health. Which is great because I really
get injured doing a 24/7 title thing.
I think so. I can't remember exactly how she got injured, but I know she was like teasing retirement at one point.
Yeah.
So it's good to have her back.
That would be a sad end to her story if she got hurt chasing after the title that Gronkowski held.
Yeah, exactly. What a that would be.
I remember her when she was in WWE because again that was right when I started watching. Maybe it's just nostalgia or just first time wrestling high, but that period of time really felt a lot better than what we're getting now.
Yeah.
You had got people like Ember Moon, the Riot Squad. It was the start of the women's revolution. You know, I wasn't a fan of Ronda Rousey, but she brought a lot of main event gravitas to everything. The rise of Becky Lynch, where they actually went with what the fans wanted on that.
Right.
And yeah, I loved Ember Moon when she was there, and she got hurt, which sucked. And I guess she's now at NXT along with Finn Balor.
Yeah, which I'm honestly glad when certain people go back to NXT because it seems like
such an indictment, isn't it?
Oh, it's a huge indictment. Yeah, it's a massive indictment. But it seems like NXT knows what to do with people like Ember Moon and Finn Balor, and I'm kind of glad that Adam Cole hasn't gone to the main roster, for example, Johnny Gargano. So it's definitely an indictment on Raw, SmackDown, creative for sure, or maybe just Vince. I don't know, but yeah. So they had a great match. Raquel Gonzalez is pretty good. I think she's getting better with every match.
She's like a giant, right? That's her whole thing.
I think is like a legit like 6'1", wow. 6 foot maybe. Yeah. So and Dakota Kai.
Like she's not like even for on the women's division, she's not particularly tall.
Right. And Dakota Kai I feel like is doing a good job, kind of being her right hand and doing classic heel manager / partner stuff. And Shotzi Blackheart came out at one point.
I don't know anything about Shotzi Blackheart, but I like her look.
Yes, she does have a cool look, and she chased off Dakota Kai, which kind of gave a false glimmer of hope. But eventually Raquel defeated and pinned Ember Moon to retain. And then we get to the main event, which was a fatal 5-way match for the NXT Championship.
Like
it
I
pretty much was
Money in the Bank, where it was basically 5 dudes throwing ladders on Braun Strowman and no luck.
Exactly. Yep. It was pretty much everybody would attack Karrion Kross. He would destroy everybody for a little bit. Then they would do a big spot where maybe they pushed him through the door or something of the set. Then he would be out of the match, and then Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Pete Dunne would have amazing chemistry together. Then Karrion Kross would come back in, destroy everybody for a little bit, and rinse and repeat. I think this match was definitely created to make Karrion Kross look strong. I think he did okay.
I mean, aside from them booking him strong, does he actually come off as a main event guy?
He's got a look. I'll say that. He's got a cool entrance. I'll also say that. But he just can't hang with someone like, the four other guys in the match. When you have four of the best wrestlers in the company.
It's so weird because everyone's talking about he's probably going to get up before anyone else there.
Yeah, yeah.
And NXT has become kind of the inverse of what it's supposed to be. You got people there who if you want talented, best of the class wrestling from WWE, you go to the training ground.
Right.
You don't go to main event to see. Well, there are good people on the main roster, but
sure, yeah,
you don't get the same kind of thing. And what they're looking for on the main roster is not what guys like Johnny Gargano or even Finn Balor or Ember Moon can bring to the table.
Right. No, I think you're totally right, and I think you look at the best moments of these wrestlers, and they all honestly come from NXT. I mean, you can argue that Finn Balor has had some great main roster moments, but also, I don't know. I mean, he won the title and then got hurt in the same match. So it seems like just certain people, I don't know if it's just Triple H or the creative of NXT, have better reads on a lot of superstars than the main roster creative do.
We talked about Nikki Cross 100 times this episode. What? Shayna Baszler and Nikki Cross were in NXT. Now one's a superhero and the other is running away from a doll.
Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good summation of what's going on here.
The end.
Exactly. That's all you have to say, really. But I thought it was an entertaining show overall, especially the last three matches. I would say kind of stick out to me.
Well, it looks like a short show. Did AEW have more matches in this? I think they had probably about as many matches, and that was
I mean, I think there were like five matches.
Yeah.
So they get the good thing about that is they, especially the last three matches got a decent amount of time, and the first match, really the second match was under 10 minutes. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one very important question to ask you though about NXT.
Sure. Yeah.
Dexter Lumis.
Yeah.
What is Dexter Lumis?
So, like I said, I only started recently watching it, but from my perspective, he's like this weird kind of hopeless romantic character which is nicely as I can put it.
Sure.
I think he's intended to look creepy, but not be all that creepy. I think that's what they're going for.
From
but
what I
don't
can tell, okay. First, he's named Dexter Lumis, serial killer and serial killer doctor. Yeah, it's a bit on the nose. And he's got the little mustache. He's quiet. From what I understand, he doesn't do a lot of selling either. It feels like they had a very intentional direction for this guy, probably trying to glom onto some of the success that The Fiend had.
Sure.
But then they just went in another direction with him. So it's impossible to figure out what he's even about at this point, if he's still supposed to be the creep from the creep farm, but also in love with someone there. I don't even know who is he in love with?
Can't even remember. I don't even know.
It's the person on the way who isn't Johnny Gargano's wife.
Oh. Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know, like I'm wondering, like when
it's interesting.
It's interesting because I kind of like his look. Whenever I see him, it's definitely a little bit on the goofy side, but it's unique to a lot of things there.
Yeah.
But you gotta have the right. It's a fine line you have to walk, and they just don't have the delicate touch to walk that line. They have to be able to balance that, and if there's one thing WWE doesn't really have, they can't really balance anything. Everything is wildly swinging all over the place. So that's how you go from Nikki Cross being a part of sanity to she's a superhero now.
Right.
And with that mustache, if he dyes it black, you got a new Omni-Man. You can make him
there
an
you go.
Omni-Man.
That's a good point. Well, knowing WWE, they'll do that in like 15 years.
Oh yeah, they'll wait till he's 55 before they start doing something fun with him.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So that was the NXT show, short and sweet, but with some solid performances in there.
If you were to compare the two shows, which one do you think did a better job?
I would argue AEW.
Okay.
Just because I think especially with the main event, the NXT's intention was to make Karrion Kross look like he belongs with four of the top guys in the company, and I don't know if they quite pulled that off. So
yeah, good luck to Karrion Kross. I think he's gonna get all the push in the world, but
for sure,
you got to be good at some point. Like how many people, even in the WWE system, are terrible but are consistently, pushed. Like, you got guys like Jinder Mahal, who shows up every once in a while.
Sure.
But you still got to be able to do something to get on TV a lot. And, I mean, they never know what to do with NXT guys, do
No, definitely not. Yeah. Yeah, I think Karrion Kross is passable, but I think he needs more. I don't know if more seasoning is going to help, or if he just kind of is what he is at this point.
I mean, how old is he?
He is 35.
35.
So
and they're pushing him to be the new star.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's definitely, you know what? I give NXT a lot of credit for trying to be the best it can be within the system that it finds itself in.
Exactly. I think that's the perfect way of putting it.
It's got to be the hardest thing in the world to be that talented and have someone who just have a company that does not understand what you do and doesn't believe in you. AEW, you know what? Tony Khan believes in everything that they do. The network loves what they do. They can do pretty much anything they want to, and it's led to a lot of great stuff. NXT, they are struggling, especially since they went to TV. They are just struggling to just be the best, and they have everything they need to be the best, but it's
they have the resources. They just don't have the creative freedom, or like you said, they have to work within this kind of established frame.
They're ancillary too, because it's all about the main roster. So all the decisions made are almost all based on what works for the main roster, even if it hurts NXT.
Yeah, definitely. I think that I still think whether it's Vince or creative view NXT as developmental, and it's not real until it's on Raw or SmackDown. I feel like that's how some people look at it in the company.
And I don't know how you can fix it unless you can't break off NXT too far away from WWE. There's no way to do that. You're not going to have all these guys give up their lucrative contracts to start a better company. They just they are what they are. It's we've seen it with everyone there. They want to stay because it's probably the most comfortable thing for them. They can't rock the boat, so might as well do the best they can within the circumstances they have.
Definitely. Yep. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. And on that joyous note, I think we have another episode in the bag here.
Yeah, so for sure.
We are going to take a break, and we will also be doing episode 3, so you're going to see that episode not long after this one posts. And join us then. This is the Phenomenal Wrestling Podcast, the podcast that does not have a tagline yet.
That's right. We're working on it.
We are working on it.